Hi everyone, to whoever is watching this video, this will be a very interesting video to all the MBA aspirant. I'm sure this B school does not need any introduction. Today we have two amazing students from one of the most sought after B school. It is also known as the Red Building of Dreams. FMS Delhi University does not need any introduction. We have Soham and Garima with us. They'll be sharing their journey from CAT aspirants to grabbing a seat in FMS. Welcome Soham, welcome Garima.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. So I'll begin with asking probably one of the most generic question that you might have already answered several times in your GDPIs. So why MBA? And before that, could you just tell us more about yourself and your profile a little bit?
So, hi everyone. I am Garima Garg. I belong to Siwani, Haryana. I did my graduation from Delhi University Kirodi College in commerce itself. And coming from a business family, then doing commerce in 11th, 12th, then again BCom in, during my graduation, it was obvious that I want to make my career in management or business only. So, MBA was an obvious choice for me. And during my graduation days, I observed how much impact I can actually create by getting into corporates by doing, and MBA is that first step that will help me to create that impact. So that was a major reason to do MBA, obviously business family and creating the impact. Talking about my profile, so I joined as a fresher only. I had 96 percentage in class 10, 97 percentage in class 12, and during my graduation I had 86.5 percentage. So that's a little bit about my profile.
Hi, my name is Soham Garima. I was born and brought up in Karnal, Haryana. I have done my graduation from Delhi Technological University and majoring in computer engineering. So my father is an anesthetist and my mother is the principal of Dal Singh College, Karnal. As far as my profile goes, I also joined FMS straight out of college. I got nine, no, I got 10 CGPA in 10th standard, 93.2 percentage in 12th, and 89.4 in my BTech. I interned at Optum, so I had a PPO from there during my graduation. And yeah, I spent 4 years in Delhi, and now for the next 2 years, I'm at FMS. So not exactly crossing roads, but within the same confines, yes.
You already had a PPO, as you mentioned. So why did you switch paths and took journey to MBA? Like what made you change your mind?
So, during my internship at Optum, I realized that any company, and no matter what service they are selling or what product they are making, some sort of business acumen is required, even if it's a phenomenal idea. So, no matter how great the idea is, you will eventually need to get that product, build it, and then get it to the consumers. Because where else would the money come in from? And I decided that the best thing for me probably would be to kind of complete my education in one go and then move on to corporate world once together. And I realized ki without MBA, I mean, your career would not, I mean, it would reach great heights, I'm sure, but you need to know how the business works. And yeah, so that's how I decided I want to pursue an MBA.
Let's dig deeper to your CAT journey. So, Garima, you are from a non-engineer background, and usually non-engineers find the quant section as the one which is challenging. Was it the same for you, or was it any different?
Yes, it was definitely same for me because I stopped studying maths after my class 10th. Like 10th was the last standard I ever studied maths, and then maths again came when I started preparing for CAT. So I kind of strategized in a way that I first looked at previous year papers. I saw that it has arithmetic, it has algebra, and it has geometry. Quant was divided in these three sections. My arithmetic was strong somehow, so I knew that it is my strength. I
Hmm.
focused more on that. After giving certain mock tests and after practicing a few questions, I realized that geometry is something I won't be able to do a lot. So I skipped the topic entirely because I would not suggest anybody to follow the same strategy. It kind of worked for me. It might not work for you because it was after a lot of analysis of previous year papers. I saw that there were two to three questions coming from geometry. So I made sure that if I have to get 99 plus percentile, I need to attempt 15 questions in quant so I can make myself stronger at arithmetic and good enough at algebra so that I'm able to attempt 15 questions and then skip geometry at all. So that's how I worked around it. I focused more on my strengths, made sure that weakness do not, scare me, and do not focus on things that are actually, scaring me or that I'm afraid of. So I skipped those things.
Okay. And what about you, Soham? Which section did you find challenging, or was it all easy for you?
No, no. So I mean, this is a very biased opinion, but I'm sure a lot of people would agree with me that most of the engineers find the VARC section
Yes.
most difficult, and so did I. So I guess the way around that I found was that I started reading the newspaper, and I went through past years, so I did not do anything apart from that. So then you kind of time yourself while reading the newspaper and then kind of challenge yourself every day that, all right, I go through these many articles today in this time, and then tomorrow I try to do it in lesser time, because VRC is all about, how quickly you can grasp and how quickly you can go through the reading paragraphs. And apart from that, like you said, engineers have it relatively easier when it comes to mathematics. So quant and DI were my favored topics, and yeah, I did my coaching from Karnal itself. Uh, yeah, and that's pretty much newspapers and past years, like Garima said, because there's no way around past years.
Yeah.
I mean, my sir used to say that even if you don't know anything else, just do, past years, then also you'll be able to score a decent enough percentile. So that was the approach that I followed.
Garima, did you also join any coaching institute?
Yes, I took my coaching from Time,
Oh.
Delhi.
Also, both of you, how much time did you spend on CAT preparation? Like, how many months did you spend? And what were the daily time management that you guys were proceeding with? How many hours were you dedicating to CAT study on a daily basis?
Right. So for me, I actually dedicated more than required number of hours for CAT. I started preparing, like I had November 2023 attempt. So I started preparing in October 2022. So that is almost 13 months.
Okay.
So for the first, because during October 2022, it was COVID time. I had more time to give to CAT because there was no college pressure or anything like that. So I was focusing completely on CAT. From October to February 2023, I was just taking coaching, and February onwards, I started doing my self study as well. So it was 13 months of preparation. In the initial days, it was just 2 to 3 hours per day, but then from February onwards, it was 4 hours per day, and from September onwards, it was even 6 hours per day.
Oh,
So that's how it went.
great. Soham, what about you?
So I started my prep in June, first week, 2022. That was during the course of my internship at Optum. And November 22 was the paper, so I guess about five
5 months.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my college had started, and I was also interning, so I did not have a lot of time on my hands. But initially, when I started preparing, I tried to give like 2 hours to the CAT prep, all in all. And during the latter stages, I think the last 2 months would probably be 3 to 4 hours. It can be more also. Don't really remember, but yeah, inclusive of the past year paper and newspaper, it might be even 6 hours.
Okay, okay, great. Let's talk about mocks now. A lot of students underestimate the value of mocks. They usually start attempting mocks much later in their preparation. When did you guys started appearing for mocks, and what was the analysis process for you guys?
So yeah, I started appearing for mocks right from January itself. So it was again very strategized that for the first 3 months, January to March, I used to take two mocks every month. Then I used to take one mock every week for the next 3 months. And then I used to take two mocks every week. Like one mock, from one mock or two mocks a month to two mocks a week. That's how it went. So in total, I took almost 60 to 80. I don't remember the exact figure, but yes, mocks played a really, really huge role in my entire preparation. I also used to take a lot of sectionals because CAT, as my coaching teacher and as my seniors always mention, CAT is all about accuracy and speed.
Mm.
And that is something that will come from the test that you give, because that's where you are actually sitting in the exam setting, and that's where you can you see if you are able to solve the question in the required time. So it helped me. For the analysis part, I generally, after taking the test, I used to first focus on the questions I actually did right. So as to understand that, okay, this is my strength area and this is something I definitely have to do well in my main exam as well. This is something I can't lose hope of. And I think this is one major mistake students often do. I remember even my roommate, she was also preparing for CAT with me. She used to focus only on the questions she couldn't attempt or she did wrong. But I believe analyzing questions you did right is more important because you have to make sure that your strength remains your strength. So that's what I used to do a lot. After analyzing the questions I have done right, I used to ensure that I'm practicing those questions more so that I do not lose the track. Then the questions I couldn't attempt to understand, okay, these are the concepts that I need to revisit so that I can solve them. And the third thing was the questions I attempted wrong. What was the reason I couldn't do it, and then focus on those concepts again. So that was the entire sequence that I used to follow.
What about you, Soham?
Yeah, so since I started pretty late, I had only had like 5 months at my hands. So the frequency of the mocks that I was taking was a bit more. I started my sectionals, I think within the first month of my preparation. So I guess in July. But by mid of August, I had started giving mocks, and the mocks were usually 2 to 3 a week. And then after October, I only attempted previous year papers, but given in the form of a mock. So um, in the same environment and like without getting up. So I guess for me that worked out because and yeah, during the end it was like a paper a day because I wasn't doing anything else. It was just like reading the newspaper and giving the paper, and then just analyzing, what was right and what was wrong. And I would agree with Garima here that you do have to know what your strengths are, because a lot of time in the heat of the moment when you're attempting a question, usually this happens in quantitative aptitude, you mark a question correct and then you think that all right, now it's done, I shouldn't revisit this. But that is not really your strength, that you just got lucky there. So it's important to like go through the entire paper with a microscope and then analyze it. And then if you feel that somewhere something is lacking, so for example, a lot of people face problem with logarithms. So if you feel that in quants log is some topic that needs a revision or that needs more time, then you go back and then you practice, and then you come back and give that mock. So that was similar to what I followed. In the end period, I used to attempt, and then I went through the entire paper, what I did right, what I did wrong, and then kind of incorporate the learnings the next day.
Great. We'll move on to profile building. Cracking CAT is just the half of it. I'm sure you guys will agree to it. And how much importance do you think profile building holds when it comes to final selection? And what did you guys do to, build up your profile?
So for profile building, it's not essential just for the final selections, but also after you go to B school, right? Because your summer placements or your final placements during your B school journey do not really get a lot of time to build your profile. It's what you have done so far in your graduation or if you have work experience that matters a lot. So profile building plays a major role. Like if we give 50% CAT and 50% your profile, because again during the final selection or during your PI that you are giving for B school, they ask you questions regarding your profile, right? So that is one major thing. Regarding my profile, I hadn't I won't say it was a disadvantage, but definitely I didn't have work experience, so that major column of my CV was missing. But because I did my graduation from Kirodimal, I had enough opportunities to build my profile. First thing that I did was I joined a lot of societies during in my college. I was outreach and public relations head of Enactors Kirodimal. So that really helped me, not only gain CV points but also build my soft skills as well as hard skills. So that was one where I worked in position of responsibility. In the extracurricular activities, I used to participate in a lot of inter-college competitions that were being conducted by different colleges. I also joined a few NGOs, so that helped me in building my social sector kind of profile and also work towards community upliftment. And I did a few internships. Also, I think one thing that I didn't mention in my YMBA answer while answering it the starting, that as Soham mentioned, that it was during his internship that he realized, and you can build a product, but if you have to sell in the market, you should know how the business works. So that is a realization that you get when you actually work on the field. So I did internships in different domains. I did in HR, I did in marketing, I did in finance as well, and I did in sales as well. My major reason was to understand all the domains so that I can make a very, very calculated decision, as in if I'm ready for MBA and in which domain I want to do MBA. So I used to do internships. I did one internship with Bajaj Capital in finance, and I did a few HR internships and marketing internships with startups. So by working on internships and POR specifically, I kind of built my profile. And also I kept, involving myself in different competitions.
Okay, great. And what about you, Soham?
Yes, I agree with Garima that profile building is just not necessary for getting into the college. It goes a long, long way. So I would urge everyone that, keep this in mind while you're preparing for CAT, or maybe, now is the stage where people are preparing for their interview. So usually what people like to do is put all their eggs in one basket. So when they're preparing for CAT, they're going to leave everything and just prepare for CAT. And when the result comes out, then all they're going to do is prepare for the GDPI. But like profile goes a long, long way. So I had interned at Optum and I had a PPO from there. So that was like one of the things that really stood out. Like Garima, since I am also a fresher, so industry work experience was something that was missing from my resume. So, but there were other things that, you kind of put in your resume to make up for that. So I play guitar. So I have given graded examinations in electric guitar. So that was something that stood out in my resume. Then similarly, I have two research publications. So that was during my college. So again, like those kind of things usually go a long way because people, I mean, both colleges and companies are looking for people, who have had research experience. So basically, all you're trying to do is doing things that not just look good on the resume because I mean that's you don't know what the college is looking for, or you don't know what the company is looking for. So there's no right answer to what's going to look good on your resume, but you should kind of ask yourself as to what you're really passionate about. Try and gain as much experience as it can. Try and quantify the experience as much as possible, and then of course hope for the best.
Okay, great. So, like you said, admission season is going on. A lot of students are right now appearing for the GDPI. So, what are the three do's and don'ts that you would like to point out for the students while they are appearing for their GDPIs?
Three do's. First is read the newspaper. I cannot stress this enough. I mean, during my interview at FMS, the first question that I was asked is, give me three pros and three cons of the budget. And I'm sure all the other people I've talked to, some or the other question was asked, which somehow came back to current affairs. And if not so current affairs, then something that's, happened in the past 5 years. So I would say read the newspaper, and if there should be no if, but if you don't, then still read the editorial section at least. So that's one thing. Second is all your HR questions, which are usually why MBA, tell me about yourself, where do you see yourself in 5 years? All this should be prepared very well because it's very hard that somebody is not going to ask them. Because usually the first question they ask is, okay, tell me about yourself. And although they are not looking for a mugged up answer, but still, you should have some pointers as to what you're going to speak and maybe some sort of structure to the answer. And third is give as many mock PIs as you can to people you think are good enough to judge you. Don't just, sit with anyone who has no idea about interviews and MBAs. Try getting hold of people who have some idea and who's given some sort of interviews in their life, and then try getting a personal interview with them. And it just helps you practice. And if you speak in front of people, then you feel more confident on the final day.
True.
Because when it is the final day, it's a very, very full of pressure situation. So if you've practiced enough, then it kind of takes the heat off. As far as don'ts are concerned, first is don't lie. Uh, it's very, very visible because the person who's interviewing you, they have had 30 plus years of experience teaching. They've seen countless number of students. If you're trying to lie, they would know. And that just like kind of demeans your entire profile and your candidature. So don't lie. Second is be very, very careful about what you're speaking, because every word that you speak can be, I mean, this may sound very filmy, but every word you say can be used against you. I'm not saying that in a threatening manner, but like you have to think very clearly before you say. And I guess that's, yeah, just speak slowly and try not to rush into thoughts, or maybe, rush into words, and speak in a legible manner. People should be able to understand what you're saying. Yeah,
Yes,
I guess that's
honesty.
it.
Honesty is the key in the interview.
Yeah, the honesty is definitely the key.
Okay, Garima, what about you?
Yeah, I think Soham has majorly covered all the points. One thing that if you are a fresher specifically, then you should focus on your acads because they do question you a lot on your academics. They generally ask you your favorite subject and then question you from that, or they might just look at your mark sheet and start asking questions. So I can't emphasize enough. I think 90% of my interviews were around my acads. So make sure that you are preparing well for your academics. Select a few subjects you are good at or you want to be good at or that are relevant to MBA, maybe finance, maybe marketing or something like that. Read them thoroughly, know your syllabus, and then be very confident about them. One don't that I would like to mention is that there are a lot of resources available and there is a lot of information available about interviews and everything. You do not really have to mug up or gain everything, right? A lot of people just do not move in any direction. Like they just think, okay, today I'll do news. Okay, he's doing this thing, I'll do this. So it does not work that way. For your GDPI prep, you need to have a very, very strategized way. You need to list down the pointers you want to focus on and then focus on those things only. Don't just beat around the bush for different resources or different kind of information. Like for newspaper, as Soham mentioned, it's like the important thing. But what news to focus on, that is one thing you really need to figure out. You need to read about economics, you need to read about international affairs. Politics is one thing that you can actually kind of skip. For the GDPI prep, for journal awareness you can definitely learn, but economics and international affairs are something that interviewers really focus upon. Also, it's not about reading the highlights of the news, it's about forming opinions. People who are sitting there, they don't want people who can speak books. They want people who can form opinions and can suggest or recommend actions. That is what the role of a manager is. So you need to make sure that if a particular thing is happening around, why is that happening and what can be done as a CEO. If you are a CEO of a company, what could you do? If you are a marketing manager of a company, what could you do? So you need to have opinions around that. I won't say it can't be extreme. It can be extreme. Try to keep it neutral. But again, if you have some proper substance or proper logic behind it, don't be afraid to be extreme.
Okay.
So that would be my advice.
Yeah, just adding on to that. So, like Garima said, that they want people to have opinions, which is exactly correct. They don't want you to just recite a headline to them. If they're asking you a question, you should know the ins and outs of that completely. And then, I mean, the best way is that, speak 20 things about the topic and then present a neutral opinion. But if you feel very strongly and you're very certain of what you're saying, then it doesn't matter to, maybe have strong opinionated feelings about it as well.
Also, just to add one more thing, that it's okay not to know everything.
Yeah.
Like they do not expect you to know 100% of the things, and do not be disheartened if you're not able to answer 100% of the questions in the interview. Because again, as we have been emphasizing, they do not want people who can read books or recite headlines to them. They want people who can adjust themselves, who are flexible, who can adjust themselves to different situations. So if you do not know anything, say it confidently ki this is something I haven't read or this is something I'm not really aware of, but I'll definitely read about it. So it's okay, they will appreciate this honesty. If you'll try to form any answer, if you'll just try to take a guess, it would actually have a negative impact. And if you feel that your guess might be right, just tell them that I don't think I'm really aware of this particular topic, but I feel it might be this. So at least even they know that you are taking a calculated guess. So that's something that you really need to take care of.
Also, in FMS, SOPs play a very integral part in the selection process. So, how was your SOP experience? What was the topic? And were you asked any questions on your SOPs?
Yes, actually. So, SOP is like, again, SOP has certain weightage as well given during the final selection process. So one thing that is very strange, or I think that is very interesting about FMS SOP, is that it is just a 1000 characters, that is around 150 words. You actually have to explain everything. You have to pitch yourself. What I did with my SOP was that I divided it into three parts: or past, present, and future, wherein I mentioned and everything was in the contextual basis of MBA from FMS. So what I did in my past, what I have done so far, then what I am currently doing and what I want to do during the 2 years of my MBA, and post MBA, what are my career plans 10 years down the line. So I formed a complete story around it to explain how currently doing, like if my present plan of action in my life or in my career trajectory is to do MBA from FMS, how I came up to this plan and how this plan is going to affect my complete career trajectory. So that's how I formed my SOP. And I mentioned one of the lines in my SOP, which was again around business family. So I was questioned for around 5 minutes in my FMS interview around this thing only. So FMS interviews are basically known for being very short. They are generally for 5 to 7 minutes. Mine was an exception. It lasted for around 17 minutes. And 5 minutes were just around coming from a business family. I was questioned that I already did commerce in my class 11th and 12th. Then I did commerce during my graduation as well. Then I also have a business family. How exactly MBA is going to make a difference in my life, given that I have sufficient business knowledge and business backing with me. So that was something I was questioned around, and that is something I had to explain them, as in how MBA is going to add value to my career.
So, what about you?
Yeah, so like Garima said, 150 words are not good enough to explain to the interviewer why you want to join FMS, or why you want to do an MBA. So while writing an SOP, you have to be very, very concise and crisp as to what you want the interviewer to know. I also divided my SOP into, what I've done and what I want to do, and then how will FMS play a role in that. Although it was very hard to explain that in 150 words. But the thing was that my SOP and my tell me about yourself answer were very closely linked. So directly, a lot of questions weren't asked, but I mentioned that I had interned at Optum, so they wanted to know what my work was, and then my co-curricular activities that I've taken part in, or maybe some other hobbies that I'm interested in. So they kind of just want to know what are your interests and hobbies. And yeah, mine was a relatively short interview. I think it lasted for about 8 or 9 minutes. And yeah, I was also asked about subjects of my bachelor's. So, like Garima said, you should know that. And yeah, I mean, you're not expected to know everything, because obviously you cannot know all the current affairs that are going on, but try knowing everything about stuff that you've done. So, for example, if I've done my BTech, so I should know what my subjects are, and what I did in my internship. So, of course, they're not looking for you to be an expert on the Russia-Ukraine war, but stuff that you've done, they would want you to know everything about it. So yeah, that was that. Then also there was an extempore section in the FMS interview, which they give you 15 seconds to think about the topic that they've given you, and then you're supposed to speak on it for 1 minute. So and usually they're very abstract topics in specifically for FMS. I'm not sure about other B schools. So the topic that I was given was diversity. So you just have 15 seconds and then you have to speak for 1 minute. So I revolved it in some, unity and diversity. India is a very diverse place, etc., etc. But again, when you're practicing for interviews, so now if you have a lot of knowledge about what's going on in the world, then maybe you could use that current affairs knowledge and then somehow put it into the extempore. So I, at that point of time, the Karnataka elections were about to happen, and the local ministers there, apart from using Kannada as a means of campaigning, they were also using English in Bangalore, because they realized that people from diverse groups live in Bangalore. So I added that fact when speaking on extempore. So now that news might not have directly been asked to me, But since you know that, you can kind of, push that in your extempore or maybe your other answers. So it always helps to, know what's happening in the country.
Apart from FMS, did you guys get calls from any other B schools?
Yeah, FMS was my best call.
Okay. No, any other calls did you guys get?
No,
You
no,
appeared
no,
for any other interview as well for
no. I just appeared for one interview.
Oh, great. What about you, Garima?
Yeah, I actually had all the calls like ABC,
Oh,
LKI, then CAP calls, MDI Gurgaon,
okay.
and FMS. I converted all the calls except A and B,
Okay.
so I chose FMS.
So you also converted, I think, Calcutta and Lucknow as
Yeah.
well.
Yes.
So why did you choose FMS over Calcutta
Okay,
and
okay.
Lucknow?
It's kind of answering why FMS, but yeah, something I'm really proud of. FMS, one reason, obviously, ROI, we can't emphasize enough that after 2 years, instead of paying EMIs, I would actually be investing in SIPs that will give me interest as well. So that is one of the major reasons. Second, there's a very famous saying about FMS that FMS has the highest intellectual density.
Okay.
So it's one of the very famous lines that is spoken about FMS, which is true because we have a very small batch size, which is around 280 to 300 students. You actually get to interact with everybody. You know everybody. I know all of my batchmates. I know all of my seniors. That's because FMS gives you that opportunity, and the small batch size helps you to interact with everybody, learn from everybody's experiences. Third, being the diverse profiles of people. You will find people who are freshers like me. You will find people who have like 5 years of work ex. You'll find people who are already coming from big consulting companies or big finance companies and then joining FMS. People who have had UPSC preparation and gaps. So I felt that the kind of learning opportunities that I'll get in FMS is going to be huge, and which after coming to FMS, I have realized is true as well. Fourth, I have always been inclined towards marketing, and FMS is mecca of marketing, given the kind of professors we have, the kind of preparation that we are given throughout our time. So that inclined me towards FMS. And I can keep on saying for sure, but yeah, one more reason that I would like to mention is that FMS has the student run. FMS is completely run by students. So that is one thing that has always attracted me. Coming from Kirodimal, I have had already seen that culture of societies being run by students, but FMS also being run by students, where you actually get chance to lead a group of students, lead a society, experience being manager in the college itself before going to corporates. So you experience problem solving, you experience decision making, analytical abilities, and whatnot. So the opportunities here are immense, and that's what again attracted me. And yeah, again, I would like to add one more reason here, that FMS is in the heart of India, right? FMS is in Delhi, so it gives you a lot of opportunities outside FMS as well. Like, I can do live projects after my college. I can, because a lot of companies are in Delhi or in Gurgaon itself. After my classes are done, I can do offline live projects with the company, giving me some hands-on experience as well. This chance you might not get in other colleges or in IIMs for that matter. You can do online, but you cannot actually experience offline. I can attend offline events of different colleges, like DTU does a lot of e-summits, and IITs do a lot of e-summits and other kind of events. So I can attend them as well, sitting while doing my MBA in FMS. So that's what attracted me, and that's what made me choose FMS.
How was your interview experience at IIM Calcutta?
So, and Calcutta interview was really great. It was, 80% again around my profile only. They asked me about Inactus a lot. They were really interested in knowing about the kind of work I did, the learnings I got through that. That was one. Second, I was asked because they asked me the kind of specialization I want to do. I told them marketing, and they were kind of a taken aback. I don't know why, because they were expecting me to say finance, coming from a commerce background, and then I'm Calcutta, known as the finance campus of India. So they even questioned me that people want to do finance, right? And they come to IIM Calcutta especially for finance. They leave A and B for finance because they want to do finance from Calcutta. So I think again I told them why I'm interested in marketing, what has inclined me towards marketing, and why I want to do marketing in general. So again, a few questions from marketing, a few questions from current affairs. It lasted for around 20 to 25 minutes, and it was majorly around profile and certain current affairs itself.
Okay.
So it was overall a good experience.
Are you guys done with your summer placements this season, or is it still
Yes.
going on?
Yes.
Okay. So this season, a lot of B schools face a lot of challenges during their summer placement. Even a lot of IIMs were struggling to place students this season for the summer placements. How was your experience in the summer placement at FMS?
Yeah, so I would have to say touchwood, by the grace of God, FMS has done, I mean, really, really well, considering that these were very trying times and the market was really, really bad, and even the US was heading into a recession, and the companies were not hiring. There was a hiring freeze. So, keeping all that in mind, we had a great pool of companies in the campus. And yeah, I would have to say that it just kind of reinstates your faith in the legacy of FMS. So yeah, and soon enough, the placement report will be out. So I guess that is something that people should look forward to.
Great. What about you, Garima?
Yeah, I think given the market conditions and given the times, FMS has performed really well. And the credit goes both to the legacy of FMS as well as the current batch, their profiles, and the placement team that has been working really hard throughout the time. So, yes, as Soham mentioned, the placement report will be out very soon and you'll get to know.
Sure. Also, Soham, you are an upcoming intern at Deloitte SUI. You mentioned
USI,
on
yeah.
LinkedIn. Congratulations. How was that
Thank you.
interview for you?
Yeah, that was a fun interview. So I went through 3 rounds, and I guess each round lasted about an hour. And I was asked to solve a case in the first 2 rounds, and the third round was majorly about my interests, my hobbies, and basically to understand if I would be a good fit at Deloitte. So yeah, that was that.
Okay. Also, we are observing a trend that lots of students nowadays are keen in pursuing management consulting as their profession. Why do you think that shift is happening? Is it because of the lucrative job or the glamorous lifestyle? What is it that's driving people, more and more students actually, to now opt for consulting roles?
So yeah, I mean, definitely the one factor that cannot be denied is the glamorous lifestyle. I'm yet to be a part of the industry, so I cannot confirm if the lifestyle is as glamorous as they present it to be. But that's a thought that many students have. But apart from that, I think consulting provides you an exposure to a variety of different fields, and you get your hands dirty in various industries, whether it is a mergers and acquisitions project, or if it is due diligence, or if it's just to find new sources of revenue for the firm. So you get to work in different companies, and all these different companies belong to different industries. So the kind of exposure that you get is phenomenal, and on a personal level, the learning curve is exponential. So I guess that really draws a lot of students out. And I mean, then again, I haven't started working yet, so I can only tell you what I've been told by my seniors. But yes, it's a challenging but very rewarding work.
Was it like one of the most sought after roles this season during the summer placements?
I think, see, with the diverse group of people that FMS has, a lot of people do prefer management consulting roles, but I wouldn't say that everybody was going gaga over it. There were a lot of people who were really interested in marketing, and that's where they wanted to go. Then some people knew from the day zero that they want to get into finance, some wanted to get into product management. So, yes, sought after roles, but if it's the only thing that people were looking for, that would be no.
How is campus life at FMS? What do you guys usually do to get away with all the hustle and stress from the
Mhm.
MBA life?
Yeah, so we have a great campus life, as I mentioned, that because we have a very small batch size as compared to other colleges. So it really helps us to connect with everybody. We get to know our batchmates, we get to know our seniors as well. We are well connected with our alums as well. Yes, we obviously do not have like hostels, so we all stay in flats or PGs near college itself. After our classes are over, we guys do meet for group assignments, projects, or case comms that we have, which generally end up with parties or hanging out or exploring cafes in and around the Hudson Lane or, Majnu Katila. To get rid of, the pressure, I think we have got used to it now, I would say, because from the day one, you get exposed to a lot of things. You have a lot of things to do on your plate. Obviously, once the students join in, they realize that what all they need to do. It does look very fancy outside B school, but inside B school, you actually have to, work a lot, struggle a lot, and put in a lot of efforts to get what you really want. So pressure and late night working hours are something that we have now started enjoying, but it is coupled with definitely hanging outs, parties, and some rant calls, or just late night walks. And yeah,
So is it true that MBA students usually sleep for 3 to 4 hours? Like for the first year, is it true? Because you guys have just, covered your first year.
I
So
think 3 to 4 hours is still number you are quoting, which is more. There are days you might not sleep for like straight 2 days or 3 days, right? Especially before your summer placements, you might not get that much time. Post your summer placements, you things still become relatively better. But again, if you are involved in case competitions, if you are involved in other kind of societies or something, you might get 3 to 4 hours of sleep. But like, I do not regret. I do not feel like why I am doing this or why I'm just taking 4 hours of sleep. I think that is worth it because everything that I'm doing is adding certain value to me. So it's totally worth it. And again, it depends on person to person. There are people who take full sleep as well, 8 hours, 9 hours. I won't say 9 hours, but yeah, six to yeah. So I know for sure. So there are people who take their sleep of 6 to 8 hours. So it's more about time management and how much you involve yourself in other activities.
before we end, would you like to describe your journey so far in the FMS, like in 3 to 4 words? What is it that you would call it?
Just 2 words. It's a roller coaster ride. I
Okay.
mean, there are a lots of ups, lots of downs. There will be nights when you'll just cry. There will be nights of laughter as well. You get to see everything. Like you see the most vulnerable side of yourself and you get to see the most happy side of yourself. So it's about enjoying the journey. It's about embracing everything that comes your way.
Okay. What about you, Soham?
Yeah, I think I would agree with Garima. It's very exhilarating, but then simultaneously, it's also going to show you some really, really sad days. But I think it builds you as a person. You're going to have loads of fun. You're going to do loads of work. You are simultaneously going to go sleepless for 2, 3 days, and then suddenly you're going to sleep for 18 hours also because you feel that you've earned it. But yes, it's definitely a great journey, something that I'm really, really proud of now that I look back on it. And if given a chance, yes, I would do it again.
Also, people who are appearing for CAT 24 this year, are there any tips or guidance that you would like to share with the students?
Yeah, I would just say keep practicing and just give some direction to your practice. Know what you're doing wrong, focus on those.
Any don'ts that you want to add, any mistakes that you guys might have learned from?
Log out of Quora.
Okay, what about you, Garima?
Just the same thing as Soham mentioned, give direction to your preparation. Do not just keep doing because there are like n number of resources available for CAT preparation. So you need to identify which resources are best for you, identify your strength and weaknesses, see what you need to focus more on. And I can't emphasize enough on the importance and relevance of mock tests. Give as many mocks as you can. Focus on speed, focus on accuracy, and you'll ace it. All the best to everybody appearing for it.
All
Yeah,
right.
all the best.
Okay. Thank you, guys. This was a really great session. I'm sure all the students who are right now preparing for CAT look up to you guys. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. I'm sure you also might have enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining today, guys. Best of luck. For more information on FMS Delhi and CAT exam preparation, do check out the link in the descriptions below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.